All right, we are recording. So folks, we're going to give it just one more minute, 6 past, and then we'll start the presentation. Thank you. Okay, it's about 6 after 6 o'clock. Again, for those of you who just joined, my name's Attorney Jeff Drago. I'm an attorney for HVV Massachusetts, Inc. We have someone just coming on now. I represent them for a proposed cannabis establishment at 220 McClellan Highway in East Boston. I'm sure many of you saw the flyer either by mail if you're in a butter, or in the newspaper in the Boston Herald. It was run as well. But this is our CCC, our Cannabis Control Commission meeting. This is our second CCC meeting, so some of you may have heard or seen some of this presentation before, but we are required to have a second meeting upon our filing of our application before the CCC. And so just a couple of points for housekeeping. One, this Zoom platform is being recorded by my office. Attorney John Haskell's recording it. Attorney Matt Eckel is going to be sharing the presentation. We also have Melissa Rutherford with us from Happy Valley HVV, who's going to answer any questions as we get into the question and answer period. We do have a full presentation. It shouldn't run more than 20 minutes or so. And then we save time at the end for any question or answer period that folks may have for any questions around the proposed establishment. And also you can email us, you can put questions directly in the chat. John Haskell is going to be following those, and then hopefully we can mention anything that folks may not raise in the discussion. So with that, we are going to, we're not going to have everyone muted. There's a small enough group that folks can unmute themselves at the end, but if more people come on, we may mute everyone and then just raise hands in the raise hand platform if someone wants to speak. So with that, we're just going to share the screen. Matt, please. Okay, so that just popped up. I hope everyone can see that okay. And again, this is just a front rendering. This is a front picture. I think we just stopped for a minute, Matt. There we go. That's perfect. So this is actually the building at 220 McClellan Highway. For those of you who are not familiar with it, this is Happy Valley's location. They purchased this property. We were approved a number of years back for medical marijuana location. And this part of the process now that we're going forward with, which we were approved before the Boston Cannabis Board, is for a marijuana establishment or recreational. So we could have both options for both medical and for recreational at this site. But as you can see, it's a large building, a large site with plenty of parking, and it's located along 1A in East Boston. So, and we're going to go over our presentation and kind of the details as we go forward. So next slide, please. This is just a notice of the meeting that went out. So per the requirements of the CCC, this was mailed to our abutters, so our direct abutters. I believe about 12 letters were sent out certified by mail. We also posted this in the Boston Herald. That ad ran about 2 weeks ago, or about a week ago, but ran twice, just giving folks notification. But as many of you may know, because we've been at this for a while, you may have heard some of our discussions or seen some of our other community meetings we had presented when we were proposed for medical and for recreational before the Orient Heights Civic Association. And we also had a prior CCC meeting as well, and a couple of abutter meetings. So, but this is just the virtual community outreach meeting notice. So now, due to COVID, the CCC was asking that we have all of this, or recommending that we have this virtually. And so for those that couldn't get in through the Zoom, there was also a phone number to call in as well, and just in case folks couldn't get in through the computer. Next slide, please. And we did, just a point to note, get some emails from folks, as we did put our office email as well. And we just got those a little later today. So we will answer those before the end of tonight. But again, so these are just our objectives. So one, we want to tell you a little bit about the proposal and our location, but we also have some requirements that we need to talk about and want to talk about as part of the CCC requirements. So one, we're going to quickly discuss our team and the proposal, the location of this establishment, some of the community support for our operation, safety and security plans, and again, procedures to prevent diversion to minors. And we've condensed some of that, but we can get into any questions and details at the end of the presentation. Positive impact on the community, which are benefits to East Boston, local partnerships, community diversity and inclusion plan, employment opportunities with wage and benefits, steps taken to avoid creating any nuisances on the site, our parking and transportation plan, and then obviously our question and answer period. But what you're looking at just on the side picture is the front of the building at 220 McClellan. So just to give you a little bit of background and project information. So our proposal right now, as I had mentioned, we were approved for medical marijuana on the site at 220 McClellan Highway a number of years back, and went through the whole Boston process. We were approved at the Boston Zoning Board of Appeal. We are now proposing to add adult use marijuana to our existing license, which has medical marijuana use. The commence period operations were commence operations was granted on April 28th, 2020. And we were also approved by the Boston Cannabis Board last month. So the current use right now at this location is it is approved for a medical marijuana dispensary, as I had mentioned already. This particular zoning district is in a waterfront manufacturing. So this is ideal for folks that are commuting to work. It's located right on 1A, plenty of parking on site. So this is ideal for folks traveling from Boston or commuting to work or on their way to Logan. To stop by this location. It's convenient. And it's also away from, schools and residential neighborhoods, which was something that made it attractive to the neighbors and neighborhood of East Boston. It's a large lot. It's 43,083 square feet. And just in terms of buffer zone, we're not located within 500 feet of a pre-existing public or private school. So no school around us or education, any kindergartens, and that goes from grades 1 through 12. And we're also not located within a half mile of an existing cannabis establishment at the same time. Next slide, please. So just in terms of who the applicant is, so as I had mentioned, HVV Massachusetts Inc., doing business as Happy Valley, and I will refer to them as Happy Valley through the presentation. Michael Reardon, who is on the call, is the president and co-founder. And then for representatives that we also have, we have Melissa Rutherford, who's director of compliance, John Gray, who has answered a lot of security questions as the director of security, and Gilly Moda, who's the retail general manager as well. And that just this team has a combined 60 plus years in their respective careers with experience. So one thing Happy Valley does provide itself is the experience of its employees. Next slide, please. So this is just our location map with an aerial view over around the surrounding area. So it just highlights here some of the MBTA stops. But again, just if you look at where it says Happy Valley, this location is directly on 1A. So it's ideal for those folks driving to this location as well. And we have plenty of parking spaces, which we're going to show you. We also have handicap accessible parking and plenty of room for ride share and those folks that may be using, any other mode of transportation, whether that be bicycle or motorcycle. This is an ideal location for that. And it has more parking than any other marijuana establishment that I've seen in the Boston area, surrounding areas. Next slide, please. And so now these are just some surrounding views. So you can see our building here. It's just brand new. It's newly updated. When the Happy Valley had purchased it, it was really just a shell. In the past, it was used as a rent-a-car facility and sat idle for a number of years. So my client really wanted to make an investment into this community of East Boston by purchasing the building. But you can just see the skyline. So you're heading north, you're going in the opposite direction, heading south, you're going towards the airport and as well as the city. Next slide, please. And so again, we're against the highway, so we're not near any surrounding residential area. We have some commercial trucking on one side, some automotive use on the other. And again, the hotel is directly sort of across the street from us, but even that's set pretty far back. So it's an ideal location for commercial activity and industrial activity because it's set far away from the actual residential community. Next slide, please. And these are just our floor plans, so we just wanted to share these. So you'll see a lot of nice pictures that we show too, but this just shows you sort of the working area of the room. And we also have some good shots of where we'd be unloading and unloading cannabis interior to the building. Next slide, please. And again, this is our lobby and our main showroom inside. So you can see everything would be brand new with display area and check-in points. Next slide, please. And this is our showroom and our checkout area. So this location has plenty of room for queuing, especially during the pandemic and with COVID. We have a large operation, a large area for maneuverability, plenty of area for folks to social distance, and plenty of area for staff to be safe as well at the same time. Next slide, please. And so just in terms of community support, this kind of shows you sort of where we've come in our timeline with support. But early on, we were approved, as I mentioned, for medical marijuana, and we were lucky to have the support of our state senator, our state representative, our counselor at the time, Councilor LaMartina, and also the mayor's office of neighborhood services. We had a number of abutter meetings. We had a number of Orient Heights Civic Association meetings as well. Letters of support were submitted, and we were approved unanimously at the Zoning Board of Appeal for a medical marijuana use at this site. And so we felt that it was appropriate for us to move forward with a recreational use as well. And then as we moved forward to the Boston Cannabis Board, we did have the support from, again, our state representative Madaro, State Senator Boncory, the mayor's office of neighborhood services, and again, our newly elected, well, not newly elected, but a couple of years in, from our last city council, Lydia Edwards, who submitted a letter of non-opposition at this site. We obviously today have our CCC meeting, and we had a prior CCC meeting, but they have to be current, so within 6 months of applying. So this is our second time. Next slide, please. And so just quickly, safety and security procedures, obviously to prevent diversion to minors, which is very important to us for the security of the site. So the plan for on-site security personnel, all security staff on site will be Happy Valley employees and undergo a thorough background screening. No fewer than 3 security associates will be on site during the hours of operation. During busier times, they may be more scheduled as needed. 1 associate in the security office camera room, 1 in the parking lot, and 1 at the retail entrance, which will all be verifying IDs of anyone requesting entry to the dispensary, and that's all to prevent entrance by minors. All customers have IDs verified in accordance with the CCC requirements for admittance. All HVV employees are trained on how to recognize fake IDs and what IDs can be accepted. No one, unless a patient, is allowed into the store under 21 years of age. Next slide. And again, so our security plan, HVV security shall be proactive in preventing theft, diversion by utilizing industry-wide best practices in theft prevention and detection, which will include our video surveillance and alarms. We are protected by state-of-the-art security system that includes video surveillance, motion detectors, glass break detectors, panic buttons, hold-up alarms, duress codes, and door contacts at all entrances and exits and anywhere cannabis may be stored. This system is monitored 24 hours per day, 7 days per week by a third-party monitoring company. 3, to reduce the possibility of product loss, including diversion, access shall be restricted in product areas to only the minimum number of employees essential for efficient operation. And finally, all vendors and service contractors shall always be escorted by facility staff during their visit to the secure part of the facility, and a visitor's log is maintained at all times of those folks. Next slide, please. And so just a slide to show our positive impact and benefits to the community of East Boston. So 1, HVV will produce 40 full-time retail employees, an additional 3 to 6 full-time security employees as well. HVV will hire local people subject to CCC approval. So we will look to hire locally as best as we can. And I know there are a couple of emails came in asking about that. And if anyone has any specific questions after, we can answer them. Happy Valley has worked closely with the police. We met with a number of the Boston Police Commissioners, but Boston Police captains, including District 1 in East Boston. On security protocols, code compliance, traffic, and public safety. And we want to work closely with the Boston Police because we can help them also with our camera and monitoring system in case there are any crimes in the general area. HVV will be an active corporate member supporting local East Boston charities and community organizations, which we've already partaken in. HVV will assist patients in our community by providing medicine at low cost to those patients who have limited financial means. And HVV has already invested a substantial amount of resources to secure the site and to renovate the dilapidated building. And for those of you who may have driven by this area prior to Happy Valley renovating, they've put a substantial amount monetary dollars into this building to bring this up to what it looks like now. Next slide. And just so some of our local partnerships, so one, the Salesian Boys and Girls Club. So HVV has made annual financial support and contributions to the Boys and Girls Club. They are very active in their after-school programs for children, providing lunch and snacks to kids, lower income children in particular. And they have a number of after-school summer camp and food programs to help kids in the area. And then Girls Leap, which aims to empower girls and young women to value and champion their own safety and well-being. So that's just another group that we've partnered with. Next slide, please. Positive community impact continued. So HVV is committed to creating a diverse workforce. It is important to ensure that all individuals have an opportunity to be part of our team. HVV's diversity plan represents an initial approach to establish a comprehensive management plan with goals and measures for inclusion and diversity. And if there is any questions on this, Melissa can be very helpful with answering those during our question and answer period. Any actions taken or programs instituted by HVV will not violate the CCC's regulation with respect to limitations on ownership or control or other applicable state laws or regulations. Next slide, please. I don't know if that froze, Matt. Okay. Diversity and inclusion plan goal. So to recruit and hire a diverse group of employees that values and promotes inclusiveness among the workforce. To achieve this goal, Happy Valley will create gender neutral job descriptions, recruit from state and local groups, post hiring needs on a variety of web-based recruitment platforms, participate in local hiring events, attend community group meetings at least 2 annually to introduce Happy Valley and address existing hiring needs to attract a diverse array of individuals with an emphasis on those affiliated with the cannabis industry. HVV will adhere to the requirements set forth in 935 CMR 500.105 relative to the permitted and prohibited advertising, brand, marketing, and sponsorship practices of marijuana establishments. Next slide. Happy Valley's wage and benefit package. So Happy Valley offers all employees the following: highest wages per job title in the cannabis industry, full medical benefit packages, generous PTO, career advancement opportunities, and paid volunteer time. And so we just want to put in, because we feel it's important, and want to talk about our parking and transportation plan. So as I had mentioned, this is a great destination spot for those folks that are driving to this location. Many of cannabis establishments are located in sort of commercial areas that don't offer a lot of parking. The beauty about this site is its location. We are allowed to have plenty of parking for patrons, visitors, and staff. So we have customer parking. We have both handicap and regular spaces available, and a separate area for employee parking. Just in light of COVID, as I'd mentioned, for social distances. So in the event that there are more patients and customers who wish to enter the store, they can easily allow a line to queue with 6-foot intervals to have that spacing so folks can still feel safe, but we will not be intruding on anyone else's sidewalk or anyone else's businesses in the area. Patients are always welcomed into the facility first ahead of consumers. And those are for folks that have medical marijuana cards. Public transportation. So although we are located on McClellan Highway, the MBTA bus stops are located on McClellan Highway opposite of Addison Street. So there is the ability to take the bus to this particular location. There's additional bus stops at McClellan Highway and Boardman Street in East Boston, right on the intersection of the corner, which we showed you in our overhead. And then again, we're probably about 15-minute walk to Orient Heights T Station for those folks that wanted to take the MBTA, and there's plenty of sidewalk space to walk safely to Happy Valley at 220. Again, so plan for transport and delivery of products, which there's always questions around this. So it is Happy Valley's policy to be as inconspicuous as possible when delivering cannabis products and to avoid drawing in any attention to vehicles. And that's part of the also the beauty of we have 2 loading bays interior to our building. So our vehicles can pull directly into Happy Valley. The doors can be closed and everything can be done safely inside the building. The product will be transported in secure, unmarked delivery vans. These vehicles shall be set up in a way so that no cannabis products are visible to the public from the outside. Always, when transporting cannabis products, the vehicle travels directly to the receiving location and does not make any stops except in the event of an emergency. In case of an emergency stop, a detailed log must be maintained, describing the reason for the event, the duration, location, and any activities of personnel exiting that vehicle. And upon arrival, the vehicle can then pull directly into the secure loading bays, which we're going to show you some pictures in a moment, to complete the delivery and be out of sight. Next slide. And so again, here are those loading bays as we discussed. So you can see we have the luxury, we have large loading interior bays, and this shows you the 2 of them. All deliveries are done inside the loading dock area. So, and that includes like product or things like money for cash machines. Upon arrival, the delivery van will be directed to the secure garage, which you can see now the interior. Once inside, the overhead doors will be closed. The delivery will be offloaded inside the dispensary garage in full view of security cameras and out of view of the public. Next slide. And so Happy Valley steps to avoid creating any nuisance. This location was carefully selected. Obviously, it is removed from any residential area. I think our closest residential homes would be over about 1,000 feet away. All deliveries will take place within a secure garage. So again, not viewable by the public. And our rear abutter is the Chelsea Creek. So there's no homes behind us, no businesses behind us, and only commercial businesses around us. Security. The establishment will utilize state-of-the-art security system, which will allow the entire premises inside and out to be monitored. Security staff will ensure there is no loitering in the parking lot or surrounding properties. And then finally, parking and transportation. We have plenty of parking as well as public transportation options, which I had highlighted earlier. And we're right along 1A on the highway. So for access to patrons, and will not result in the increase of any residential neighborhood traffic, which is important, which is something that we hear. When you pull out 1A, you can get directly to north or south or to the city along the highway or right to the tunnels without really entering the immediate residential sections of East Boston or Revere. The site provides safe vehicular drop-off for all patients, and I had mentioned and we showed you those 2 handicap parking spaces right out in front of the store as well. And we also have handicap accessible ramps to bring folks into the building. Next slide. So just quickly, hours of operation, 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. proposed. That's 7 days a week. Building capacity, so pre-pandemic, that was 60 in the showroom, 51 in the lobby. And just post-pandemic with regulations, it's 21 in the showroom and 24 in the lobby. Number of employees, as we highlighted earlier, that's 6 for security personnel and 40 for the retail location. And I believe, Matt, that concludes the presentation. And again, we can open it up for questions, or if folks, our team's here, if folks want to write anything in the chat. And if you could just, if you are going to ask a question, if you could just state your name and address for the record, so we can keep track of that as well. John, is there anything in the chat?
I've got nothing in the chat, Jeff.
Okay. I know we also got a couple of emails, which we'll answer, Melissa can answer a little later. We just got those late today. John, maybe can you put our email in the chat, just so if I know it came up on the flyer, just in case anyone wants to take that down with any questions. We can just provide our office email. It's an informational email, just so anyone can, if their question comes up or there's anything you'd like us to share or think of later on, we can certainly send that to you. Okay, I mean, my office will stay on for a few minutes, just in case anyone pops on or there's any last minute items in the chat. But thank you for listening, for those of you who are out there, and look forward to working with Boston and you folks in the future.
Jeff, it looks like the call-in number unmuted themselves. I don't know if they're able to speak or not, or if they have a question.
Okay.
Caller 843-819-0866. Did you have a question or a comment?
I know Michael called in. I don't know if that was Michael or not. Oh.
Matt, that's me.
Okay.
Oh, hi, Mike.
Michael, we didn't recognize the number.
Since we only have 3 people, Jessica, did you have any questions or comments?
I'm all set. You guys answered everything. Thank you.
Great.
Thanks, Jessica. Olivia, how about you? Any questions or comments?
No questions. Thank you.
Thanks.
And Colin, you final any questions or comments from you?
No questions. Thanks.
Okay, great. Well, everyone has our email in case anything comes up, and thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.